Honestly, at this point, he's gonna be at 29, winding up for a clap on like a meteor's gonna hit the earth.
Hello and welcome to the What the Nuck podcast, the podcast for Canucks fans. I'm your host, Roddy, alongside my good friend and co-host, Gunbeer. Now, Gunny, Canucks have 2 wins in their last 6. They have fallen to the Sharks Saturday night, which was last night, at a score of 4-3. They're 14-7-1, which is still a really good record. But do you think this is the regression that everybody's talking about, or do you think it's just a tough schedule?
It can be a bit of both. It's not, you can't just look for one scapegoat in this. We were due for regression. I think everyone
Yeah.
agreed with that. Like we weren't gonna be scoring 8% from the point, and we weren't gonna be getting, we weren't gonna be doing exactly what we were doing all season long. Especially Demko wasn't gonna. Well, Casey DeSmith also has a little bit of a regression because he was looking real good those first 4 games. I think he's lost his last 2, but that schedule's kind of bullshit. Not gonna lie. The 4 back to backs. This like how many games was it? I think you were telling
10
me before, but
games
it's like
in
10 games,
17
like 18
nights.
nights. That doesn't even
Yeah,
make
and like
sense.
just it wasn't just in Vancouver, like they're traveling on the road. I think it was like 8 different cities in a short span of time too. Like no, they've definitely been going through the ringer a little bit. At the same time, in my opinion at least, the playoff teams, like Talkett said, I think he was a little hard on the boys last night, but it is a back to back against the Sharks, and the Sharks also played a back to back, so like they were tired as well, you know?
We deserve to win that game. We were absolutely pelting it. Like I think that 2-3 minute period,
Stint in the third.
2-3 minutes where like Granlund just went coast to coast with a butter on the toast, and then Tyler Myers just did his
Yeah, yeah.
damn thing. Like those are just costly, but like 99 out of 100 times we win that game the way we were playing. So I'm not worried about that game being a
Oh, for sure.
loss.
And like, I mean, other teams are going to lose to the Sharks this year as well. They're like since we played them and we shellacked them 10-1, and then Pittsburgh did the same thing and put another 10 spot on them. They have been a better team. They've been a more respectable team that actually plays within the NHL. Like they looked better last night. They got some bite to them. Also, since we're on that topic of the Sharks game last night, Pedersen's hit where he absolutely cronwalled the. Who
Oh,
was that, by the way? Did you see who it was?
I actually don't know who he actually hit. I genuinely don't know any
Yeah,
player on
no,
the
I'm just
Sharks.
saying.
Like they have the
I
most
should have,
random names of
I
all
should have
time.
saw it. Should have saw it.
Let's assume it was Giovanni Smith because I like his name.
Okay. Anyways, he absolutely cronwalls a Sharks player. In comes Matt Benning, and he crunches Pedersen on the boards. Little scuffle ensues, and everybody's in it, including Pedersen, which was actually obviously I don't want him in there, but I don't know. It was pretty hype seeing all the boys go to bat for each other. Lafferty coming in and absolutely tackling. Oh man.
Oh yeah, he came like a
Yeah,
bulldozer.
no, it was good to see the boys have each other's back, obviously. And honestly, the other thing too, we'll talk about it later on, but Kuzmenko getting scratched for his second game, the fact that Pedersen was playing with Lafferty in this game, huge blessing in disguise. When that moment hit, I was like, okay, we need a guy that can protect it, like their players, and Lafferty is a guy that was able to do that. So did Friedman as well, came in too. So
Yeah, Freeman came in gloves off already. I think he dropped his gloves at the blue line at that point.
yeah, no, it was I don't know. There were still some exciting points in the game, but I was just waiting for us to tie it up. And then at the end too, where Talkett pulls Demko, or sorry, to Smith with like 3 minutes left, which is very reasonable. I feel like they were down by 2
Yeah, I
anyways.
love it. I love it. It was a pretty early
It
pull, and
was,
I
yeah,
liked
but
it.
like I really like how aggressive he was with it, and Besser finds the back of the net twice after kind of going a little quiet, I would say. Now he's tied for first again in goals with 15 on the year. He's halfway to fucking 3-0, buddy. The big 30. So,
The fucking never before
yeah.
seen. Honestly, at this point, he's gonna be at 29, winding up for a clap on like a meteor's gonna hit the earth. Like I just don't know what's gonna stop him, but he deserves it. He's looked
He
great
has,
this year,
and
especially shooting wise. I think he had 7 shots that last game for
yeah,
San
and
Jose.
and that's I know we've talked about it before, but with Besser, like the big difference compared to seasons past is he's shooting it more. Like, you see him, like, on a 2-on-1, he's gonna take that shot or, like, on the power play, like, he's a volume shooter, that's what he is, and he is doing everything in his heart to get those shots on net, like and the one thing I love, like, with the power play right now, because Pedersen's not shooting that 1T and just not shooting in general, really, they're really finding Besser in that bumper spot where Horvat used to be, and it's worked a few times. So, yeah,
The passing on that power play is like that is just
yeah,
wow. The way they move that puck, like yeah, I used to be like, you look at other teams' power plays, like especially like Tampa, because I watched them a lot during the playoffs and
yeah.
stuff like that. That power play, like the movement on it is disgusting. And like honestly, we're at that tier now. Like the skill on these players, and then like the slap passes. And we gotta talk about Roenick on the power play. Instead of obviously he takes Kuzmenko's spot. And like I've hated two defensemen on power plays, but he looks like he
I was just
belongs
gonna
there.
say that actually, yeah, because Kuzmenko was Scratchy's last two. Hronik is a guy that got bumped up to power play one, and the movement's even better now too. Because if Hughes doesn't want to take that wrist shot that he's been taking, that honestly has found the back of the net more than a few times. You have an absolute bomb on Hronik. And once they switch spots, like, like,
Yes.
that clapper's coming. Plus, again, like, we'll talk about it again a little bit later too, but Pedersen obviously dealing with something. He was literally wrapping his wrist up on the bench, I saw in like a close up. Maybe that's why he's not shooting as much. But no, like having Ronek on there definitely gives it a different look. And it might also bolster the second power play unit as well if Kuzmenko gets back in and plays there.
That second power play unit of ours for like a decade has been the most who's who of fucking Canucks
Just a
have
bunch of
nots.
scrap.
Like, right? Could you even name who the
Yeah.
five players were?
Garland, Teddy
Go for
Bluger,
it.
Roenick was on there. Hoglander, I think, is there. I don't know. It's a shit mix of our bottom
I
six.
could list any player and you'd be like, yeah, he's probably
Yeah.
on there. Like, there's
Beauvillier.
no player. You could Beauvillier was he could have been there. Joshua
Yeah.
could have been there. Like anyone other than like Mark Friedman could have been there, and you would have
Yeah,
believed
yeah.
it.
Ian Cole's on it.
Like, you think he's the only one that probably doesn't have
Uh,
any. Honestly, I'd believe it. It is Myers though, the
yeah.
defenseman on it now. He's been he's go back he's back to
Well,
his
hey,
ways
can I just say something to defend Myers right now quickly? This Susie
always.
injury has shown just how thin we are on the blue line. Um, Patrick Alvin and Co have to do something, I think, in making a trade because without Susie there, Myers has to play more minutes, which obviously makes him a bit of a worse player than what he was. Because when Susie was playing and like Talkett like lowered Myers' minutes, I thought Myers was playing some really good hockey. Now it's like his minutes are getting bumped up again due to Susie
Yeah.
being injured and them not being able to trust guys like Akito Hirose. We don't have a guy in the pipeline that could take the next step. Like, for Christ's sakes, man, we got fucking Juleson on the back end right now. And Juleson's been playing okay. I can't completely rag on him, but yeah, we have to find somebody to replace Susie for the 6 to 8 weeks here because it's gonna be tough if we're not gonna do that.
I think the hope was to get Ethan Bear there, but I think he's a lefty anyway, so we're gonna need someone else because like Talkett definitely doesn't want the he's very adamant about the
Yeah, no,
handedness.
he
Is that's probably why Matt Irwin hasn't come up either, right?
do we even still have
Like
Matt
he seems
Irwin?
like a capable. Didn't we sign him
I
this
thought it
year?
was last year for Matt Irwin. No, no, you're right, you're right, you're
I,
right.
I'm pretty sure we
No,
still
no,
have Matt Irwin. I have no idea where he is.
he's in Abbotsford somewhere, I think. But yeah, no, I was kind of hoping that Hirose was able to step up to the plate the one game that he played there. I wonder what the deal is too. They never seem to call up Wolainen. Maybe it's just they don't want to have too many like puck mover esque defensemen up. But I thought he played good last year when he was playing with us. So
Yeah, I have no clue what they're choosing to do on the defenseman who's coming up. Like it's always a toss up between like yeah, Juleson, McWard came
yeah,
up right,
McWard recently came
and
up.
then Hirose. They're just like yeah, and then we talked about this like preseason as well. Like there's just too many to even decide. And like honestly, obviously the coaches and management know better than we do. So I'm happy with whoever they stick there. It's just the fact that you can notice there's a big gap with Susie
Yeah,
missing
100%. And him being
and your boy missing too.
our boy.
He is
Yes,
Suter.
pistol shooter.
Your boy, Pia
Yeah, no,
Suter.
it's, yeah, I'm still trying to make it s hey, the way John Shorthouse is making the iFivalry stick, I'm gonna make yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
garbage.
terrible.
Yeah, I love
That is
John,
terrible.
but
Won't stick.
get that outta here. They use it in the graphic,
If
man.
there's anyone that could, but, like, yeah, dude, that is
Yeah. No,
terrible.
anyways, though, no, yeah, having Pia Suter gone is definitely hurting the team a little bit as well. But since we're talking about injuries here, we could talk about the scratch now. Kuzmenko being out for the game against the Kraken on Friday night, that makes sense. I thought that Talkett like made the right call there, giving
Yeah.
him a bit of a break. He's had his struggles this year so far. Hasn't really been up to par compared to the 39 goal season he had last year. It's like him and Besser switch bodies or something, I don't know. But, scratching
Yeah. He
sorry, go ahead.
just go on. You say your piece
Yeah,
first.
just
You start.
scratching him for a second game, in my opinion, even though you won with the Friday squad, not the right call. Like, Pedersen is playing with no,
Really?
100%. Pedersen's playing with line mates like Lafferty and Mikheyev. Like, Mikheyev's good. I just think Mikheyev's more of a utility guy. He's like our Yannick Hansen of the modern day era, essentially. No
I really like
I do
McCabe on that
too,
line.
but, like, I don't know, if we're gonna do, I don't know, Tocchet seems to really like duos, so having Miller and Besser stapled together, I like that. I think that Pedersen needs a skill guy in Kuzmenko to be with him, and then if you put either Hoglander I don't know, Mikheyev, Kuzmenko, Pedersen have worked a little bit this year, but they've also been not very good 5 on 5, so maybe seeing what the Spark and Hoglander can do to that line and bringing Mikheyev down, I think Mikheyev could drive a line.
I think I think it's bringing Kuzmenko down or getting Kuzmenko to start
Mm,
shooting. I think that's the whole issue with Talkett was he's telling this guy, like, "Stop getting
yeah,
so fancy, put the puck," 'cause, like, Pedersen already gets way
yeah.
too fancy, like, and he's allowed to, by
Yep.
far, easily, when no matter what he wants to do. He could set up a five-course meal, and I'd be like, "Yeah, that makes sense," like, he can get as
Yeah.
fancy as he
Do
wants.
your deeks.
Kuzmenko, on the other hand, like wow, your mic went off there, that broke my
So
ears, but Kuzmenko getting too fancy and, like, Talkett just wants him to shoot, and he should
yeah.
just shoot. Like, he's getting Mikheyev, right? And that's why you got a player like Sam Lafferty, a guy that just literally drives the net and puts the puck on, like, that's all
Mhm.
he's got. And that's what I don't know, that the reason that he scratched him was probably that he wasn't, you know, getting his head in the game and stuff like that. And then I think the second game was well, they did great. They looked good
Yeah,
in
they did.
Seattle, and it was San Jose. So, like, he could have brought him up, but, like, who are you gonna take out at that point?
Yeah, that's, like
And don't say who you think you're
who
gonna
do you think
say.
I'm gonna say?
Who do you think? The player I think you always think we should scratch,
No,
Beauvillier. Only reason I can think that he's jumped
I
into
will
that
say
top 6
this
though
with
is to get
Beauvillier,
traded.
okay? He's not producing.
Okay.
He's been skating really well. I actually like the move of putting him with Besser and Miller there for a couple of games because the guy that should have gotten scratched is DiGiuseppe. He's not doing enough right now. And I think him being in the bottom 6, like, I just haven't seen enough, so I think you could have taken out him, but again, I respect that, hey, like, this lineup won Friday
Like he
night,
doesn't deserve a
like,
scratch though.
here's Saturday, like, try to win with the same lineup, like, that makes sense, I get it. A lot of coaches would do the
That
yeah,
logic stays. I just oh man, PDG shouldn't get scratched, not for the effort level he's putting in. He's a talk boy, man. He grinds it
100%, but
out
the
on the
last few games,
forecheck.
you think he deserves to stay in the lineup over Kuzmenko right now?
Over Kuzmenko? Well, Kuzmenko just getting scratched because he's not listening, but, like, over it, honestly, I'd rather scratch Beauvillier as
Yeah.
well, honestly. Get him out of there from my boy
Yeah, no,
PDG.
and then well, we're on the topic of guys that just aren't producing right now, but, they try really hard, and that's what matters, effort. Connor Garland in the Sharks game last night, that is that is the best game I've ever seen Garland ever play, man. He did you see that one deke he had on the boards where he had 2 end-to-end rushes?
Yeah.
2!
He he's crazy
Yeah.
on those boards, like, the shiftiness on this man, he's so low to the ground the whole
Yeah,
time too.
it's incredible, yeah, watching him play is like a completely different style of hockey you'll see any other average height hockey guy play, and I absolutely love it, but, no, last night, he was absolutely on one. I wonder if maybe promoting him would do some good, but I that bottom 6 with him, Blueger, and Joshua is such a good bottom 6 line right now, like, they seem to really hem in their opponents in the zone, and, again, they're not
Absolutely.
gonna get a lot of goals, but I mean, Joshua scored, against Seattle on Friday. and Bluger got his first in Seattle as well on Friday. So like that line is going, and obviously you don't want to tinker with that too much, but Garland has been a really noticeable piece right now that is working really hard for Vancouver's lines.
Yeah, Garland, Joshua, those two have just been like Joshua after
Yeah.
his scratch has been a man on a
Yeah, no, he's
mission.
been incredible.
He's been hitting, he's been driving to the net, he's been playing really physical. I No questions asked. I thought he was the weakest member like that
Yep.
first 2
Yep.
weeks. Like he really was struggling and then he's just completely gone off and that line has meshed. Garland like his whole thing is he just doesn't produce because he just can't crack that top 6 no matter what, he just doesn't
Yeah.
mesh with them. But third line he's been great and he's happy to be here apparently after his trade request now
After
that we're
winning, yeah.
winning. So he can
Yeah,
stay.
no, and
'Cause, like, I honestly don't have a problem with Garland or his compete level or anything, like, he's it's just, the contract and the fact he can't hit in our top 6 is a struggle, but him on the 3rd line, he's looked great.
yeah, that's the thing, right? Like, it seems like we're talking about the same story with all these guys that are essentially supposed to be or should be top 6 guys, like Kuzmenko not really producing. You have Beauvillier who's getting paid, like, over 4.5, I believe. He's not producing. Garland playing 4.1,
4.1.
thank you. Garland at 4.95, not producing. Like,
Garland's like
yeah,
4.9, yeah.
so
Garland's that's the thing, he's a heavy
yeah, and all these
contract.
guys are in that range, and it's like you want. I believe Kuzmenko's like in the 5 range, 5 something, right, for 2 years.
5 what do you mean?
Yeah,
Kuzmenko,
yeah.
yeah,
So these guys are
5.5,
around
I
the
got
5 to
confused there,
4
but yeah, I think
range,
he's
and they're
5.
just not. They're not giving what they should with their contract. That's the thing I have a tough time like defending Beauvillier. Yeah, he's skating well, but like you can't just skate well on 4 mil. You have to do something with it. And Garland too. Like,
No, Beauvillier, like,
yeah,
yeah, he's just not. I don't think he should be in the same conversation as
no,
Kuzmenko
no,
and
I.
Garland. Kuzmenko and Garland are honestly a
But
couple
that's where
tiers
it'd be
ahead of
nice
him.
to like maybe like get rid of this guy for like a defenseman or like get rid of that cap space somehow and like put that money somewhere better suited, which is again like defense or even getting a winger that's just gonna try a little bit harder, like a depth center. Like I don't know, they just need something because they have a lot of guys that are doing the same thing. Um, and I don't know. I'm on the topic of bottom 6 guys. Like the reason we won that Kraken game was because of the bottom 6. Like Sam Lafferty got a goal,
Yep.
Joshua got a goal, Bluger got a goal, Mikheyev got a goal. Hoglander got a goal, like
Their PK
yeah,
and
the
stuff like that
PK.
too. But honestly,
Like, yeah, no top 6 guy
that was
got a
a
point.
great
Like,
yeah, and those kind of games that they can win for you, and like even just obviously that we're not gonna have them score all 5 of our goals, but even those like little bits of depth scoring you can tell are gonna be what you need, especially in the playoffs, right? You need every line to be able to do something and not just get hemmed
yeah,
in.
no, 100%. And like, yeah, those guys just had a really good game. That the only top guys that actually scored in Seattle was Hughes and Ronick assist. Everybody else was, like I said, Mikheyev, Hoglander, Lafferty, Joshua, and Bluger. And oh, by the way, Bluger's first goal as a Canuck, unbelievable. Shorthanded breakaway, steals the puck from Vince Dunn, I believe. And no,
Oh
they
yeah,
looked out of this week. The Kraken win was definitely the most solid. Obviously, we played the Sharks twice this week. Uh, thought it was an okay 3-1 victory on Monday, but let's get to the big game, the big matchup of the week that Vancouver ended up losing 5-2. It was Colorado Avalanche versus the Vancouver Canucks, or as the analytic boys want, Hughes versus Makar. What did you see in this game?
the
Yeah,
Norris
The
matchup.
Norris matchup. What did you see in this game? Did you think Vancouver played good, or were we a little fatigued?
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I think we were a little fatigued, but not to the point where it's an
Yeah.
excuse to lose that. Like we couldn't get it going and stuff like that, and then goddamn the cherry on the Sunday for Avalanche is that
Oh
Makar
my god.
breakaway
Yeah.
on Demko too. That was the backbreaker right there. Like the guy's got skill.
Yeah, they have two completely different games, obviously. Like Hughes, in my opinion, right now in this game, Hughes has the best edge work and skating ability out of anybody in the league. He is like
Yep.
like the like his his turns and spins and edge work that he can do is like Garland on steroids. Like it's incredible what Hughes is able to do on the blue line.
The
It
control is yeah. Actually, that's one thing I've noticed is a completely
mhm.
random thing, but like teams have gotten the thing to not chase him behind that net
Yeah.
anymore. Like
Yeah.
they just leave him there. He was getting booed by the San Jose, but like nobody chases him behind the net anymore because they know they're not going to catch him, and the fact he's gonna like he cuts so sharp to the net, like
Mhm.
around it as well. That there's no point. So that could be one of those things that could lead to a regression too. A lot of teams are figuring out our new
Yeah,
system.
and, like, I mean, that's gonna happen, like, you're gonna have better looks on teams and, like, seeing what they're able to do, what their success is, like, how they break out of their zone. Like, yeah, Vancouver is gonna be able to get defended here and there. Like, one thing I noticed in that game in particular against Colorado is their penalty kill pressured the hell out of Vancouver's, power play unit. Like, Vancouver couldn't have a chance to breathe, and that's the reason our power play was so tough, against Colorado. Like, they just couldn't get anything going on it.
That's always been the thing to on our power play, like giving away trade secrets here. But like when they rush
Mhm.
Hughes, like every single time, or not even rush him with the puck. He'll deke you out if he's got it there. But like when they cover him a lot, so we can't get that pass back, that's when we have
Yeah.
a lot of troubles. Because net front, we've honestly been great, but Hughes runs
Oh,
that
yeah.
power play. Everything
He's the
goes through
quarterback,
him.
yeah, like, Pettersson can handle it
He
well, but Hughes is the guy that it goes through.
yeah. Overall, though, I just don't like that regression thing, like because people think we're regressing back to like what we were like a couple of years ago or last year and stuff like that. We're not regressing
No,
to that point. Even like this game, this Avs game that we lost, like we weren't completely out of it. We weren't completely outclassed or
here's what's
anything like that.
happening right now, okay? Vancouver Canucks fans are going nuts when we win games, and, Canucks fans are crazy, and they're really good for the league because they give a lot of interaction to the league, a lot of press, like, Canuck fans, like myself, you, Brabby, we're all insane, right? Anyways,
Yep.
when wins are happening, everybody's in a good mood, and I still think like wait, the Sharks game, like I was looking at Canucks Twitter, and everybody was like, "Oh, probably shouldn't be losing this game. Boys are fatigued." Like that, we still admit that we lose, but whenever we lose, it's like one game. An analytical nerd like fucking Dom is gonna be like, you guys suck. Like I told you, you guys were gonna regress." It's like, yeah, like exactly to what you just said. Like we know we're going to regress. We're not going to be like 8% on the point shooting, like you said. Like, we're going to regress, but we're not going to regress to not being a playoff team. We're still a very good team. Good
Yeah.
teams lose. Boston lost to Detroit this weekend. Vegas lost this weekend. They got shut out, in fact. Like, good teams lose.
They
Yeah.
go through ruts, and we have something to point out with this schedule because like the thing is, Hughes is playing and Ronick are both playing 26 minutes a night are their top pairing, and like you can tell like the difference in how bad they're
Oh, yeah.
gassed. Like I'm not gonna blame that on Granlund fucking cutting them up, but they've had a lot more turnovers and stuff like that, and that can be just fatigue, right? This is our first 2 day break in like three
Yeah.
weeks almost. So I have no issue with this team regressing, as they call it. Like, yes, we weren't going to be shooting or where the PDO, wherever they were saying the high danger chances, all that. We weren't going to be doing that great. But the underlying how this team actually looked was always good. That's why we didn't like the analytics guys because they would say dumb stuff like, "Oh, you guys are shooting like that," but it's like, dude, this team looks so much different
Yeah.
than last year. They're not just getting lucky with
No,
anything; they're
they're passing the
performing.
eye
The
test.
forecheck alone. That's why I'm excited for this
Hmm.
Vegas game because like when I was watching Vegas, like in the playoffs especially, every puck
Yeah.
battle was theirs. They were a dominant team, and that's I think one of the things that Talkit has been absolutely just straight up imitating or straight stolen from Vegas is just send the boys on that forecheck. Like I think that happened to our that again it's San Jose again, so I don't like they did beat us, but I have no
Hmm.
respect for them. But that 6-on-5s, like we were just dumping it in and then winning the
Yeah.
battle every time. And I feel like that kind of hockey, that's why I love
Hmm.
PDG as well. But that kind of hockey is so different than how we
Oh,
used to
for
play.
sure.
It used to be the only one that could even do that was Antoine
Jay
Roussel.
Beagle and the
Now
boys.
it's like a team full of now it's like a team full of
Yeah.
Roussels, man. That effort on the forecheck is
No, it would
crazy.
be nice, like, hopefully again, like, I think that's why Di Giuseppe has been, demoted a bit because Beauvillier was skating a little bit better. I do think Di Giuseppe fits on Miller and Besser's line better because he's a better forechecker and he just works a little bit harder. Hopefully Di Giuseppe can, like, up his
Yeah.
play and, like, maybe through a couple of practices. Vancouver actually gets a couple of days off now. They don't play till Tuesday, and I believe that's against Tuesday's against Anaheim. So, it's nice to get that extra day. They're in Vancouver, so it's like a It's a nice like home schedule for them this whole week. They only play 3 games, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, all against divisional rivals as well. Anaheim, Vegas on Thursday, like you said, and then Saturday against Calgary. So it's nice that they
So we have a Boston game coming up too, right?
let me just double check for you. Yeah, this week's going to be huge though because it is against all divisional guys. Like it'll be interesting to see how they fare. Boston is not coming up for a while, my friend.
I'll just cross out while
February
reading
the
it.
8th.
Anyways, the divisional matchups, the Ducks aren't for real either. That's one thing that upset me in one of Dom's rankings was they were like, "Is this team for real?"
Yeah.
That was their whole thing, and he said the Ducks were for real, and he said we
Yeah.
weren't. Like that. That one threw me for a loop. The Ducks are not for real. The Ducks will never be for real.
They
Well,
will
actually, they
be
will be. They have
eventually.
a very
Yeah.
sick prospect. But they will be eventually. But this year, they are not
No,
for real.
and like yeah, there are teams that are just like over like performing and like where they are. Like the Flyers are second right now in their division. Like there are teams that will yeah, Washington's
Washington.
going like killing it and Ovechkin isn't scoring as much. It's really it's a weird year, right? Teams are going to start like leveling out and things are but the Canucks aren't going to regress like people think they are. Like they're not going to go like 7th in the Pacific. You know what I mean? Like they're going to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
Vancouver's played the most
And even if they do play to that pace, these
yeah.
games counted. People are like they could write them off because we got that. Hey, guess what? They counted for
Yeah.
2 points. Simple as that.
Yeah,
And we had a 16-point lead on the Oilers, probably 14 point after they won tonight. So that's believe me, that'll come into play
100%.
late
That's
year.
2 weeks of wins right there that we have they have to cover before even catching us, and we have to lose those 2 weeks. Like, it's not gonna happen. And that's the one thing that this team is gonna have to learn with being competitive for the first time in a while, especially with this group, is learning to stop these, like, losing skids. Like, if you lose 2 in a row, you cut it, right? And then you start a new win streak. You win 3 in a row or something like that. This is only, like, 1 loss because they beat the Seattle Kraken on Friday, but it's the Sharks, right? So you want to come in on Tuesday, you get that win. Thursday's a big test, you get ready for that. If you win this week 3 out of 3, you beat all divisional opponents, which is huge for the standings for Vancouver, right?
That Vegas game's
Yeah,
gonna be
no, that'll be
huge.
very, very fun to watch just to see, like you said, like the Stanley Cup, defending Stanley Cup champions that are on a bit of a skid as well. Like Vegas hasn't looked as good since the start of the season. Boston's actually the Rangers are probably the one that's the most consistent as of right now. Boston's like lost a few here as of late as well, but yeah, Vegas is in the same hole as we are right now as far as like they've only won 2 of their last 6.
If we're gonna talk about a team in the Pacific, that's a wagon though. Those
Those
goddamn
LA
Kings.
Kings, those pesky Kings, man. Yeah, no, they look very for real. Like Dubois starting to pitch in a bit here now, uh, helping my fantasy team,
They
but
didn't
they
even
don't
need
need him
him to.
to. Yeah, that's the thing. He just rounds out their lineup. They look very scary.
Yeah, the whole question mark about their goaltending, and but I would have questioned it. I did question it, but Cam Talbot and Phoenix Copley,
Yeah.
like, is that going to be a pair that's going to run you through the season? Apparently, yes. Apparently, they definitely are. And yeah, they got the young kids coming up. They're looking like I would be. It's a very exciting time to be an LA
Yep. Yep.
fan, and like maybe this was the year they finally could face McDavid guys and win. But I don't know if they're going to show up this year in the playoffs. So it's a little
Well, you
sad
know
for
what?
them. But
Yeah,
we're
we're
showing
sure.
up.
Hey, you know what?
So
Canucks and
you know,
Kings playoff series have always been really fun. Um, yeah, my dad obviously loves the LA Kings, so gonna have to go over there and hopefully the Canucks can win some games in front of them. The one thing that's very interesting with the LA too, or not interesting, it's just like really good timing for them is like Kopitar and Doughty are like grizzled vets in this league now. Like they've won, they know what it's like to win. They got Byfield that's on the up and coming, and he's killing it this year. Byfield's having a great season. He's finally turning into the power forward that like Kings have always wanted him to, right? They're hitting like their prospects are hitting at the right time, and they're like their older guys are still very solid players. So like they're just it's kind of like when Vancouver had like Naslin, Bertuzzi, and Morrison, and like we had the Sedins, but like the Sedins were actually hitting in this like
yeah.
scenario, right? So Yeah.
They yeah, I think the easiest comparison is
Or
Dallas last year, where, like, Sagan and Ben were having their still good
yeah,
years,
yeah,
and then the young kids are obviously showing up. I guess not as bad, though, because their young guys aren't showing up that
yeah.
much.
But anyways,
They're no Robertson.
the LA Kings are a bit of a wagon, and yeah, I don't think we play them for a while either. But um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Vancouver can fare against a top team in Vegas, and hopefully we can get those points because that is a 4 point swing. Um, yeah, what else is there to talk about here? Yeah, do you think like I'll just mention this again with Susie being out and everything? Do you think Vancouver should be making that making that trade to try to get someone to fill in the gap for a while, even though it might not be Ethan Bear and it could be someone else?
I think at the end of the day, you're always looking to make a trade. And I think Alvin was always like that's the thing that Rutherford probably taught Alvin. Still is teaching him because he's still there, but he's always on the phone. He's always trying to figure it out. And I think they've been trying to do this whole defense winger kind of scenario figured out. And the thing is, they're in no
Yeah,
rush, right? It's just figuring out what's happening with Garland, what's happening with Beauvillier, and then around the league, teams got to realize who they
yeah,
are at some point. Calgary has to figure out who they are. Nashville has to figure out who they are. These teams just got to. Winnipeg's actually popping off, but like these teams that are, do they want to add like a winger, like a scoring kind of winger, and lose one of their defensemen? Are they selling? Like, we're still just a month and a half in, so I don't know if teams are fully fully set. Like every GM's figuring out exactly what they're going to do. But I think in a month when teams really know, okay, are we selling? Are we buying? Are we competing? Are we not? That's when we'll see a little bit more trades. Hopefully for us at least. But I don't think we'll be making a trade soon. I think maybe Ethan Bear comes in.
yeah, yeah. Maybe I wonder too, like with McWard being called up, I wonder if he actually gets a game here to see what he can do. Because I honestly really liked his play in the preseason, but again, no defenseman. Otherwise, there would be one up here already. Has been able to make that step. Like I was hoping Hirose could. Seemed like he had a bit of a tough game, and yeah, we'll just have to see what McWard can do. Speaking of the baby Canucks, though, Neil Zaman just signed a 2 year deal with the club, so congrats to him. And I thought he looked.
Yep, had 2 assists.
Pardon?
Had 2 assists in his first
Yeah,
game in
exactly. No,
NCL.
and he honestly, I was really impressed with his play. Like, I didn't realize how big of a player he is too. He actually was like towering over some of the guys that were playing on the Kraken there.
I forgot who sent. I saw read a tweet or something like that. He straight up was just a talking guy, but he was just a consequence of the numbers while we were trying to figure out our cap situation, and he was waiver exempt or something. So that was the reason he was sent
Hmm.
down. But there's something coming up that if he plays, he needs to be sent back on waivers. So I think he might be here to stay as well.
Yeah, no, I think he's a good body to have. Like when one guy's not going, that's the one thing that is nice with the Canucks lineup. Like it seems like there's a guy a game that they can take out. Like you said, I believe Joshua is like here to stay. He's been playing super motivated and he's just very driven to keep that spot. Guys like DiGiuseppe, Beauvillier, and Kuzmenko are going to have to start doing stuff in order to stay or just playing a little bit harder because if you're not going to play the talk it way, you should be getting scratched. And I just think, again, like we talked about it already, but Kuzmenko getting scratched for that second game, like the fact that Beauvillier has not been scratched once yet when he doesn't really do a whole lot is a little bothersome to me.
I I think that's definitely just because they're looking to trade him.
Yeah,
They're looking to trade him, and that's about it. That's all I can think about. And maybe just a little bit, like, don't scratch those good old boys that are
yeah,
coming up here. Because Menko's Russian, so they're just like, all right, we'll scratch him. Scratch him because that usually works on them. It's like how they used to always scratch Radulov
yeah, yeah.
because he would, and it never worked either. They're like, yeah, play defense, or we're going to scratch you. They scratch him, he just comes out and never plays
Taking
defense.
3 minute
Like,
shifts.
what a rock star. That's a weird thing. Like, who's Menko? We're like, yo, just shoot. Like, that's what
Yeah,
we want from you. And he was like, we talked last year about or this preseason that he was gonna come in and he was gonna definitely regress. He was not gonna have no record-setting shooting percentage, but we thought his goals would stay because we think he would just
yeah,
shoot more. That was the whole thing. Like everyone thought that, and like he's got the green light for it. But I 100% see where Talkett's being like, yeah, he's getting a little too fancy during the game. Like he's got nice deeks and everything like
yeah.
that, but I just rather have him
Yeah, for
pepper.
sure. No, he does have to switch up a couple of things in order to stay in the lineup. But at the end of the day, too, he's too skilled to not be in the lineup. I think he is a guy that should just stay. Hopefully, this is a good lesson for him, and I'm sure he'll come out motivated and driven to stay in the lineup. Um, yeah, the other thing I want to talk about, just a couple of little tidbits around the league. I don't know if you got to see the Minnesota Detroit game today. Um, just to compare the two Slewfoots. Ryan Hartman was just being Ryan Hartman in this game, and like, getting some Detroit players to take some penalties and stuff. And then he's like by the bench, and he didn't get called for this at all. He deliberately slewfoots Alex DeBrincat of the Detroit Red Wings.
Yeah.
He's gonna get a hearing, but there was no call on the play. There was no ejection. There was nothing. To me, like, because he's a repeat offender, like, is he gonna get a suspension for this, or is he gonna get the same thing as Hoglander as a just a $5,000 fine? Like, that one was deliberate. I don't think Hoglander's was even close to being as
That's
bad.
it's above mine and anyone else's pay grade to figure out any consistency in
Yeah,
the NHL. If I had to guess, he should just get one just because it was completely out of the play and he just literally went to
yeah,
slew foot a guy. And like that's the whole thing they're trying to get rid of. Like especially after, well, just this year they're just trying to get rid of that play. But I'm particular after that pod incident, like Pod Colson in the A when he got smoked with that slew foot
yeah.
slash like throwdown. It is a dirty move.
Mhm.
Like Hoglanders, he did it like it was tangled up in a play. Like obviously we don't know him that well, but like we can't say what he was trying to do. But like everyone's pretty clear he wasn't trying to
Of
injure the guy
course,
or
yeah.
anything. But I get where the league's trying to like go down and be like, no, you can't do this. Who did he slew
Who did
foot?
Hoglander slew foot?
Yeah, what was his name?
Oh, I am forgetting the name.
Never. Either way, he went down the tunnel. I think that was the big
Yeah,
difference too. Ryan Hartman's is like they catch it afterwards. It's just a
yeah,
dumb play. Like he's just and I think we after that one series we had in Minnesota, the play-in series, like we realized that team is just they're just filthy. They're dirty players.
yeah. No, I
They just don't. And Ryan Herman's the leader of
yeah, no,
that.
he's like definitely a dirty player. Like I'm assuming he'll probably get a suspension. In Hoglander's, I would say Hoglander's looked a lot more vicious just because of the way he fell. Like it was a quick battle, and again, I don't think Hoglander was intending it, but he definitely got like slammed as opposed to the DeBrincat slew foot where it was deliberate, obviously, but it was just a lesser fall essentially by DeBrincat. Um, yeah, so there was that, and then I don't know if you got to see what Truba got into this week against Boston's Trent Frederick, but guy apparently got a little tangled up and went to cut off Trent Frederick's head,
Tangle up, just trying to get a
trying to get
stick free.
loose.
Saw the guy's head to give him a smoke. Yeah, Truva, man. Like, what's there to say
Yeah,
about the guy? Love to have him on your team, but absolutely, definitely dirty. Like he just does the big hits and stuff like that. Those are fair. Like he does some clean ones, some
yeah,
borderline, but like this is undefendable. You just hitting the guy in the head with the stick. Like,
yeah.
that's not really a hockey
The
play
Heat
there.
Daddy Danny Heatley account was like looking at one of these tweets from this guy. I think his name's like Drew Livingston or whatever. And this guy's like, "Oh, it's crazy to see this angle, like different perspectives. Like it completely changes the play because this angle was like from like a 45-degree, and it's like he was obviously tangled up. So then he was just making jokes the whole time, being like, "Oh, I was tangled up, just had to get loose, accidentally hit my neighbor directly in the head with a shovel." Like, I don't know, man. Like to get a $5,000 fine for that, like and it's not this bad again. We're comparing injuries here, but Brashear getting slashed in the head by McSorley, that was very blatant, and that is like cut and dry. That's a
Yes,
suspension.
yeah.
I agree that Truba got a little tangled up here, but if you're like, you're like pulling something away from like your brother and you're in a fight and you let go and then they go flying, his stick would have just ended up here. It wouldn't have ended up here trying to hit him. It's still a follow through. Should be a suspension. I can't believe that they just gave him a 5,000.
I just don't think Truba's a player that deserves the benefit of the
Yeah, but
doubt.
like that's it. We're talking
That's the
about the
whole thing.
Slewfoots too, and now this,
He
like, they actually just spin the wheel up there, and they're like, "Oh yeah, this guy. Oh, you lucky day, $5,000 fine." Like it's a joke at this point.
Hogger wasn't even a $5,000 fine. I just learned that it's just so it has to do with like how much you actually make and stuff like that. 5,000 just the max usually. Hog only had to pay like 2,600
Yeah,
or
but
something.
like,
Guy was guy didn't even have to pay anything. Kinda just doing a casual slew
No,
foot
and
throwdown,
apparently too
right?
with, like, the average, like, US salary or something, I saw this, like, tweet that said, like, what Trouba paid him $5,000 is, like, him basically paying $37 of his salary, which is just like, "Ah, here's a slap on the wrist. Don't do that again."
Quick parking fine.
Anyways,
That's all, yeah. NHL, yeah, we're never gonna find consistency with this league.
no.
And it's not even for a good reason. They just choose not to be consistent, I believe. Well, they have George Parros.
Yeah,
Does they have
George Barros
George
is
up
the
there?
guy.
Yeah. Alright, well, we can at least point to something. You have an old enforcer
In the
up
NHL
there just,
player
I don't know,
safety.
is he even spinning a wheel at this
I don't
point?
know, man. I think he plays darts and it has, like, the different suspensions. Uh,
The Ouija board, who knows
yeah.
what he's up to?
Do you got anything more to add before we wrap it up here on the Vancouver Canucks week ahead?
Uh, Me and Roddy are in 3 fantasy leagues, and we ended up, surprisingly, facing each other in every single league, and I
All
smoked him in all
3.
3.
Yeah.
So, I feel like that should be known.
I
Nothing
was
to
talking
talk
to
about it.
Tyson about it. I'm like, "Oh, yeah, Gumby's a good guy. He'll never mention this. He won't let me live this down. Like, he's a great guy. He's not gonna
Oh,
rub
no.
this in my face." Yeah,
Absolutely not.
no. Anyways, yeah, Vancouver plays 3 games this week. Again, we get the nice 2-day break, and then they're up against the Anaheim Ducks on Tuesday, the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday, and then Saturday night against the Calgary Flames, all in Vancouver. So hopefully Vancouver can rattle off 3 wins in a row. That's going to do it for this podcast. Thank you guys again so much for watching and listening. You can follow our Instagram and X or Twitter account at What the Nuck Pod, and our YouTube channel and our TikTok, is it? Yeah, at What the Nuck. Thanks again so much and have a great rest of your week.